0, 1. Let's get started.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, and hello everyone. In today's episode, I'll be sharing with you all my professional day trading strategy that I use every single day to make money here in the stock market, okay? So without further ado, let me just break this thing down so we can all make some cash for tomorrow's session. Now, ultimately today, we had a kind of a choppy session. If you saw the live stream, then you already know this. We ended up making some money, but as you can see, the market was definitely not clean, okay? Now, from this perspective overall, one could argue the fact of the scenario that we mentioned in yesterday's case, in which we're still looking again for this pullback, just like this. So let me kind of scoot this off to the side, and we can start to examine this, all right? So we mentioned this in yesterday's session that we were looking for a bigger pullback potentially and then a return back up to the upside, okay? Now from all perspective and all scenarios, that's exactly what we still have here on the table. We can adjust this just a bit, and to be quite honest, let me just look at this. 1, 2. You know, you could argue that this is still potentially a wedge. Let me just see. You could argue that this is a wedge. If it's not a wedge, then it's a cascade, which is the same deal, okay? So not that it really matters too much. I was just trying to define it a bit better. So what we really need to do right now is ultimately get the levels of support, okay? So if we base this kind of right now off of these pivot highs and then kind of push this all the way down underneath this anchor pivot right here as support, you can see we're smack dab right on this level of support at that 684 that we talked about yesterday, okay? So from that perspective, we basically can assume 1 to 2 variables here over the next couple of sessions, okay? The first ideal scenario, because of this like literal drop straight down, is the fact that the market is looking at this as a three-legged pullback and we're returning back down to this low, okay? If we return all the way back down to this low at 682, that's actually super awesome for all the bulls, okay? Because in this scenario, basically all we're looking for is a two-legged structure in which we can now look to enter in upon this, and then ultimately we can go all the way back up to this prior high, okay? So that's kind of the first scenario that I really am looking for tomorrow, and ultimately probably the more favorable one in terms of just being correct, okay? Now, we can kind of segue off of this to talk a little bit bearishly just for a moment. For us to be bearish tomorrow, we will have to fall substantially lower off of this low, okay? So instead of seeing this like nested variety, which we come all the way back up, if we end up actually just plummeting down even further, then that will actually characterize this as a shift in momentum, okay? Now that shift in momentum will be illustrated by now bearish opportunities as we look to retest the low and actually go down even lower, more than likely trying to fill this gap fill that's situated right here at 677, okay? So just be aware that that's probably going to be the primary target if we fail and just catapult going lower, okay? Now for right now, again, these are the major variations that I'm looking for. Now, ultimately, besides this, what we could end up seeing, okay, is the pullback that's already happening pre-market. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll push all the way back up immediately, okay? Now, the real level that you need to be aware of in this scenario is this prior high right here, okay? So if we get above this level at 687, with this pullback here still intact, then we can look for a potential reversal right now, basically, okay? So we'll look to basically see this push like so. We'll probably have some sort of pullback in here and then rotate back to the upside, okay? Now in this situation, we could argue the fact that this may even still be the range in the formation of happening, okay? And if this is going to be the range in the formation of happening, we can also look to capture this prior high right here, but we can also look for the full variation underneath, or the distance underneath, okay? So this whole move underneath can now be subjectively what we're looking for, best case scenario for the upside move, okay? So now we can not only target 689, 670, but we can also target this higher high up here, which happens to be somewhere closely related to 692 and 3/4, okay? So this will be a pretty awesome trade, obviously, if we can get that. So just be nimble, be aware. And if you have any trouble when trading this specific setup, then simply come on back to the channel and see the live stream that I have every Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. So you can see exactly how I'm trading this setup on the live stream, okay? Now, besides that, everyone, I just want to say thank you for giving me some of your time. We will be talking about a few different variations tomorrow morning if the market kind of fluctuates in a different path, okay? But for right now, these are basically going to be the primary variations. And for all of those who've actually stayed tuned to the very end, the last one that you really kind of need to be aware of for tomorrow is if we do end up barcoding, okay? Let's just say we push up slightly. If say we just push up slightly and then we enter a range, okay? If we end up ranging in here, that makes things actually a lot more simple because we are in a bullish range reversal, okay? So we would look for a slight pullback and then a continuation going back up. And just like this bigger range, we can now look for a more immediate reversal based on the swing low, okay? So let's just assume in this case, we can still use this blue box right here. Let's just assume in this case that this will be the full distance underneath the range, okay? Then we can use that for the swing above, which pretty much lines back up with 690, but just a little bit higher than that, okay? So just be aware that that's kind of the ideal if we do end up pushing up first without having that pullback that we just mentioned, and then we end up basing out, okay? That base out takes precedence, and then we look for a shorter pullback as we continue to push up higher. So that's it, everyone. Hopefully you found this of some value. It should be of some value for you tomorrow's session. And let me know in the comments section if you think tomorrow's session is going to be green or red, or if you have any other stocks that you want to talk about in a future video that I upload, all right? So be safe, trade safe, and I will see you all on the next candle.
I know it's hard to trust so-called gurus. That's why I live stream my trades every single day, Monday through Friday, starting at 9:30 a.m. The live stream isn't for you to copy my trades, it's to show proof and credibility that my strategy works. The stream is delayed and muted to protect my edge. But if you want to see everything unmuted and in real time, check out the Discord and Patreon links below. You'll get exclusive perks and the opportunity to learn the system for yourself, so you don't miss great opportunities just like this one.
All right, everyone. So you're going to be seeing a trade that I just recently took live during the stream, and ultimately you can be a part of this too, so make sure you look down below. But when taking a look at the trade that we just recently took here, it was the objective coming in was the fact that we had a really big move push to the upside, okay? Now this big move to the upside was basically counterplayed by a pullback, and subsequently our entry was to look to get in right above a couple pivots to retest the prior high, okay? So what you're seeing right now is the replay of my actual entry, which was right here at this 68.1925 area. And again, ultimately, like I was saying before, our main objective from this standpoint is to look to try to retest this prior high back at 68, let's just say 38. So what we are looking at right now is my volatility-based stop loss in perfect action, okay? Every trade and every day has a different stop loss based on the volatility of the day specific. So when taking a look at this trade specifically, you can see that we came relatively close to getting stopped out, okay? However, we did not get stopped out, and we ultimately reversed just like we were expecting. Now, obviously a bit deeper of a correction, but everything was within the wheelhouse of what we were expecting. And as you can soon see here in just a few seconds, we ended up getting that first target as it hits right there. And then with a little bit more patience, we did end up getting the second target as well. Now just be aware, after you get your first target, you do want to stop the risk, which is why we did pull the stop up to right around and or above our entry pivot, okay? Now from this standpoint, again, we were just waiting, being patient. And I was referencing in this part of the video what we talked about in our afternoon game plan videos, okay? I was basically saying that we were looking at this in terms of that green case scenario that we mentioned on our nightly recap videos, and that we were essentially looking for a continuation going higher, okay? Now we kind of phased that back to where we were. We did have that bigger move that went up, and now this is the three-legged pullback, and again, the retest to the high. Now, at the very least, I am expecting it to retest the high and potentially continue going higher, which is why we have those targets above us, okay? But in essence, we ended up getting that next target with a bit of patience. Definitely some patience was required. And then we ended up tightening up our stop loss and then getting trailed out without hitting the extension, okay? Now, all in all, this was a $2,500 trade. So if you want to be a part of the situation just like this, then be sure to look down below for the Discourse Size Patreon links, or come and join the muted, delayed live stream every 9:30 here on the YouTube channel.